Today's lesson is on representing fractions. Our objective is I can represent composed and decomposed fractions using objects and pictorial models. In order for us to represent fractions, we first need to understand fractions. Some definition we need to know are unit fraction, which is a fraction with the numerator of 1. An example is 1 over 4, which is called 1/4. Numerator is the number of parts counted or separated, and denominators equal pieces of the whole. Here's an example of 3/4. The numerator is 3, the denominator is 4. Some examples of unit fractions: 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/7, 1/8, 1/9, 1/10, and 1/12. Ways to represent fractions. We have parts of a set, where here you see that there are a total of 8 hearts and 6 of them are shaded. So this fraction is 6/8. Another way to represent fraction is on a number line. Here you see 5 parts divided up, and the dot is on the second line. So we know that this fraction represents 2/5. Another way we can represent fractions by strip diagram. Here I have a total of 8 parts in my strip diagram, and 5 parts are shaded. So this strip diagram represents 5/8. Let's look at ways to compose and decompose fractions. Composing fractions means we are putting it together. Decomposing fractions means we are breaking it apart. Let's look at composing some fractions. Here I have the fraction 3/8. I need 3 unit fractions to make 3/8. So here I have 3 hearts shaded out of 8 total to represent 3/8. Another example is 1/8. Here I have 1 heart shaded out of 8. So I'm composing only 1 heart out of 8. So 1 heart is shaded. Let's look at some more examples of composing fractions. Here I have 1/4. So I am going to put together 1 out of 4 parts. So I would need 1 heart shaded, and 3 of them would not be shaded to represent 1/4. The other fraction I have here is 2/4, where I would represent it by showing 2 of the 4 parts shaded to represent 2/4. Another way we can compose and represent fractions, here I'm using my strip diagram. I'm representing 2/6. To compose this together, I am showing that there's 2 parts shaded out of 6 total parts to represent 2/6. Another fraction that I can use to represent strip diagram and composing it is 3/6. Here I have 6 parts total and 3 of the parts are shaded. Another way to represent the strip diagram in composing fractions, here I have 2/4, and you can see that I'm shading 2 parts out of 4 total to represent 2/4. The other fraction that I have is 3/4, and here you can see that I shaded 3 parts out of 4 total to represent 3/4. Let's look at decomposing fractions. Here I have the fraction 3/8, and in order for me to decompose or break it apart, I have to break it into its unit fraction. So I break it into a total of 8 parts, and you can see that 3 parts are shaded. The unit fraction for this is 1/8, and 3/1/8 is shaded to represent 3/8. Let's look at another fraction we can decompose. Here I have 2/4. So my total parts that I have is 4 parts. And to decompose 2 out of 4, 2 or 2/4, I will need to break it apart into its unit fraction. The unit fraction is 1/4, and to represent 2/4, I have two 1/4 fraction represented by the hearts being shaded. Now you guys know how to compose and decompose fractions while representing it. Look forward to seeing y'all soon. Have a good one. Bye.